Hello and welcome to Sunburnt Country Music. My name is Sophie, and you're about to see my interview with Amber Kenny, a singer-songwriter from the Southern Highlands of New South Wales. And I would love it if you would like this video and also subscribe to this channel because that helps the channel grow and also helps these amazing Australian country music artists find new audience. So like, subscribe, enjoy the interview. Amber Kenny is from the Southern Highlands of New South Wales, where she lives on a farm with her family, horses, and her cherished Maton guitar. She is a graduate of the CMAA Academy of Country Music who performs solo as well as in the trio Three Birds and The Truth. Her debut album, Beautiful Scars, will be released on vinyl, CD, and via Bandcamp in late May, and maybe on digital platforms later on, but I think you should go for the CD, vinyl, or Bandcamp. Hi, Amber. Let's
Yeah.
talk about it.
Hi, Sophie. Thank you so much for having me.
It's great to see you on Zoom. We have seen each other in person in Tamworth. We met last year,
Yeah.
where you were performing the Three Birds and the Truth and doing some solo work as well. So I'm going to launch straight into talking about beautiful scars. And
Yeah.
I'm going to start by asking, are all scars beautiful?
Oh, interesting question. I think definitely some scars, the ones even that feel a little bit heavy and perhaps a little bit ugly, they're
Hmm.
often the ones that carry some deep true stories. So
Right.
I think it's kind of taking the good and the bad and saying that they're all beautiful. They're all parts of us.
Yeah, the line you have in
Yeah.
the song is that mistakes make scars,
Yeah.
and they can become beautiful scars. And I suppose it's all about time and the perspective that time can bring. But
Yeah.
are there some scars that you only realized or perhaps realized were beautiful in the writing about them?
Yeah, that's really interesting. So this song is actually the title track of the album has been the hardest song to write, and I had the honor of writing that with Limbo Tell. I wanted to write a song that discussed these really deep wounds that we have on the inside and also on the surface, and how and Lynn was just so gorgeous in helping me write this song. She's just incredible. So this song was written actually 2 weeks before we went into the studio.
Okay.
So it's a really raw one. So it actually brings up a lot of emotions talking about it, actually. Not to get heavy quite straight away,
Well,
Sophie.
I did it. By launching straight into, I
Ah,
have a decision to make when I decided how to start an interview, and I
yeah.
often follow my instinct, and with this one, I just thought I'm going straight into it.
Yeah, I tell you what, like last year, I'm not going to lie, was a really, really rough year. I was diagnosed with breast cancer in May.
Okay.
And I ended up I was actually supposed to record this album in like first week of June. So I had the
Right.
house booked, all the artists booked, everything, all my ducks in a row lined up, and then I got a diagnosis that I had breast cancer. So that all got put on hold, and had surgery. And I feel like I talk about it so lightly now, but it's not. It's actually been really quite heavy.
Yeah.
Um,
It's not because being a patient is really hard work. And that's
yeah.
part of it. There's the shock of a diagnosis. Then there's all the machinery that grinds into gear. And look,
Oh,
we're very lucky to live in a country with the health system that we have, and I've been a beneficiary of it. But being a patient takes a lot out of you, and then you have the treatment, if you know what I mean.
absolutely, absolutely. And I was very lucky. I felt like I was put on the wheel. I went on the wheel, went around a few hundred times, and then got thrown off the wheel.
Yeah.
So I was very fortunate that it was early stages. So I had radiation. I didn't need chemotherapy, and here I am. So basically, at the end of my radiation, which was in September, the wonderful Sid Green, who is a co-producer on this record, said, "Are you ready to go?" And I said, "I'm ready as I'll ever be." And so off we
Uh,
went.
so it sounds like Beautiful Scars was written after the treatment. If you wrote it 2 weeks before you went into the studio.
Yeah, so beautiful Limbo Tell. I did one of her She
Ah,
songwriting retreats,
yeah.
and I went there to do a bit of healing and just to do a bit of writing and a bit of healing. And it was me just kind of coming out of this medical bubble, I guess.
Hmm.
And beautiful Lynn and I she drew my name out of the hat, and I got to write with her, and I had my title all ready to go, and I had some words written out, and Beautiful Scars was born. So it's a very special song to me.
Yeah, and it is a very special song, full stop. I'm glad you threw it now. Radiation treatment, though, for anyone who hasn't observed it or had it, is like a war of attrition in and of itself. I haven't been through it, but I know people who have, and showing up every day to the
Yep.
same place for 50
Yep.
minutes just to get zapped, and
Yep.
then the toll it can take on your well-being generally. It's really, really tough. So to be able to create anything out of that, I think is extraordinary, particularly so close on it. And maybe Sid gave you the impetus when he asked you, but I'm interested in how your energy levels felt actually. You'd been through all of that, and then there's a producer saying, well, come on, let's go. And you've done the songwriting retreat. Did you, to a certain extent, have to kind of cajole yourself into it?
Yeah, it was really interesting because I really felt like I was had nothing to lose, but in on a sense, I was probably working at 80% in terms of my energy levels, maybe even a little bit less.
Mhm.
And so I was a little bit worried about that going into it, but then I am so blessed, Sophie, that I got to work with. I can makes me. This is what this album's about. It's these people, the connections we've made is just so glorious. Sid Green and Ben Fink, who's been one of my musical mentors and musical partners for the last 7 years. Claire O'Mara, Lloyd Swanton, Lynn Botel, Joe Casely, Ben Malone. Just I couldn't seriously have had the most beautiful, authentic people around me to make this record. It's something else. It goes far beyond the music for me, and it's about that real connection
Yeah.
and something really special. So whatever came out of that creative time together was just so beautiful.
Well, I guess it's about the community that you've created, actually.
Yeah, I still pinch myself. I mean, I got started at Academy, 2023, and it's been a whirlwind since. It's been so. I just feel like I'm on the right path.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is an extraordinary thing, because yes, that is recent, and an Academy 2023 would have been January 2023, and so that is not that long ago. And some people might think, oh well, why didn't you think you're on the right path before that, or what is it about going to Academy that sets you on the path? So I did have a question about Academy, so I will
Mm.
ask it now, which is, had you been thinking for a while that you needed to do that or do something like that, and you'd been fending it off for maybe life reasons? You have children, for example, you've got to look after the kids, and sometimes your needs get put on the back burner.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of column A and column B. The kids are definitely, you take a bit of a backseat because your mum, you've got to be there, and there's so much nurturing to do as a parent, and finding your way through and working out how to be a parent.
Mm-hmm.
So there's all that. But I was literally writing on the couch for many years, sitting in my lounge room on the couch with my guitar, just writing. And
Mm-hmm.
I actually, never in my wildest dreams did I think I'd be going to Tamworth to join Academy and
Right.
set me on this path. So it's really been quite amazing.
What did set you on the path if you didn't think you'd actually do it? Was it Joe who did it, or because I don't even know if you knew her before that?
No, I met Joe at puppy school. We met at
Should,
our
should
puppy.
also say for listeners slash viewers, Joe Casely is also an artist from the Southern Highlands. That's why I'm presuming they have
Yes.
awareness of each other.
Yeah, she is a soul sister for sure. She's magical. I actually saw her in a writers round in my first ever writers round in Bowral. I went to see her play. I'd never met her before, and I was like, wow, I want to do this. And I was tinkering away at home and just thinking, oh, no way was I ever going to be able to do something like that. And lo and behold, we met at puppy school, and then the rest is history. Like we're inseparable.
Well, that, of course, I have to ask what sort of dog you have.
I have a border collie.
So you get rounded up on a regular basis.
I do. And her name's Joni Mitchell. I named her after my favorite artist.
How old is Joni Mitchell now?
She's 5.
Okay. So that gives us a sense of how long you've known Joe, because
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So, but yes, with Academy, was it something that you just had heard about and thought, oh, I'll give it a try?
Yeah, do you know what? Actually, I follow an amazing artist. Her name's Michelle Cashman,
Hmm.
and I had seen that she was posting all this stuff, and I was like, "What is she? Where is she? What's going on here?" And then I just did some digging, and she was at Academy. She was
Right.
doing Academy, and then I was like, I've got to see." So I started doing the Zooms because it was kind of during COVID
Yeah, I
as
remember when they
well.
had the Zoom Academy. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was doing all the little 1 day, 2 day, 3 day Zoom, um, X the X Factor things with Lynn
Mhm.
and
Yeah. Academy
oh, it was
X.
amazing.
Yeah.
Academy X, that's right. And I started there.
Right. Yeah, I remember talking to to Lynn around that time to talk about Academy X because yes, it was that very weird
Yeah.
time none of us ever wants to go back to. So you mentioned that you've been sitting on the couch writing for a
Mm,
while.
yep.
How far back in your life did your musical journey start? Were you a child who was musical?
No, I actually have been performing since I was about 15, but on a different stage. Like I was an actor for 20 years.
Right. Okay.
Yes, I went to acting school, studied theatre, performed. So I'd always been creative, and I've always worked in ensemble. And I lived in the city for about 20 years, and I used to write my own plays and put them on, and hire little theatres like at the Tap Gallery, just off Oxford Street.
Mhm.
That's no longer there, but it was like you could hire it for a week for like $500
Yeah.
and put on a play. So I used to put on plays. And so I've always been creative. But it's interesting. I never felt like I was in the right place.
Right.
Even though I loved it, I loved the creativity element to it and the community, the people. I always felt like I was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Okay.
Like I walked the boards for years, knocking on doors, like just, you know, yeah, worked pretty hard and did a lot of independent theatre.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's a lot of commitment to something that didn't feel quite right, but obviously you sensed there
Mm.
was something creative that you had to be doing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it comes back to the storytelling, which brings me to songwriting, because I always wrote in a journal. I always wrote stories about people. And that's been the common thread.
Right.
Yeah.
So when did you pick up guitar for the first time?
So I actually had a guitar my father died when I was 13 years old. And my mother bought me a guitar, a red electric guitar. I don't know
That
why.
was
We know
ambitious from the
I know.
start.
Clearly, we had no idea. No amp, just a red electric guitar. And our next door neighbor was in a rock and roll band. So he used to give me, like, I think I had like 6 months of guitar lessons and learned, I think I, about half a dozen chords. So I knew half a dozen chords for the next 20 years,
Right.
basically.
Well, obviously they served you well.
I did. I just played Knocking on Heaven's Door, Throw Your Arms Around Me, and Jolene
Right.
for about 25 years until I went, oh, I can actually put some of these words I've written to these 6 chords. And
Mhm.
that's where it all started.
I'm guessing at some point you moved to acoustic guitar from
I
whether it's
did.
electric.
I did. My sister actually bought me a nylon string and it was like emerald green.
Nice. Yeah, well, therefore you had a Christmas
I
tree's
know.
worth of
Yeah.
cars. You had red and yeah.
Now I've got my beautiful maiden. So
Yes, I was
I'm,
going to say I can see guitars over your shoulder.
yeah, my gorgeous guitar, like my best friend.
A lot of people are very dedicated to maidens. So when you started putting the words you'd written to music, did that feel right? Like, did you think, okay,
It
yeah,
did.
I've arrived?
Yeah. Yeah. I just had no idea about musical structure. Like I used to take songs to Ben. He'd be like, oh my God, like the lyrics made sense. My
Right.
storyline made sense, but it's like, what is going on? I was like, oh, because I didn't know I needed a verse and a chorus. I just went for it. And so I've since learned now, since going to academy.
You're right. Who were your songwriting mentors at Academy?
Oh my gosh. So well, obviously Lynn and Roger, they were amazing. I was in Nikki Pye's group,
Okay.
which I loved. He taught me how to string a guitar.
Very useful.
Very useful. We had who else? Melody Moko was in our year. She was incredible. And I got to do a really nice co-write with Liam Kennedy Clark, who's just, oh, what a great musician he is and a lovely human being. So, yeah, it was just great.
Now in Wicker Sweet and winning on
Yeah,
guitars.
I know.
But yeah, Academy is an extraordinary enterprise. I often ask people about it if they've been there because I'm interested in somewhat charting the impact of Academy on creative output, really. And here's your album, and that's even without taking into account your cancer, this
Yeah.
is a pretty steep timeline to get to go from Academy January 2023 to having an album out now. And you were planning to actually record this album last year. So it
Yeah.
seems to me that when you arrived at Academy, you were at a stage of being almost ready, if you know what I mean. That maybe Academy
Yeah.
has kind of finished you off to be not necessarily a ripened artist, but close to.
Do you know, I think I was talking my a beautiful friend of mine, Tracy Beveridge, who has done all my film clips, all of my photography. Gosh, she's just incredible. Her and Josh. We were talking today actually, and I was saying I feel so busy. I feel so like all these music is taking up so much time. It's so much admin. And she said, "Yes, Amber, because you're building." And I thought that's a really interesting concept, you know. And I think just to kind of answer your question, I think I was in when I got to Academy, I was like, I'm ready to build something.
Okay.
I'm ready to take whatever it is inside of me and throw it out there and learn. I went there with my book, my pen, and I just took notes and just enjoyed every second of it and thought, well, how can I challenge myself to be a a better artist,
Right.
or just to even challenge what I thought my potential was.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's a big piece of work, isn't it, to do?
Yeah.
Because we can have a lot of limiting beliefs, and actually it can be scary. There's that Marianne Williamson quote about how we're actually most scared of our potential. I
Yeah.
think I'm paraphrasing, but it's that
Yeah.
got more scared of that than of failure.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? But you know what? I could not resist it. Even I was scared. Like, and I had the imposter syndrome kicked in day 2 of Academy. For a few days, I was like, what am I doing here? I'm not good enough to be here. Like, for sure. Like, I had those feelings. I still do have those feelings every now and then. But I just feel like, Sophie, I feel like I'm in the right place. I just feel like I'm meeting the right people around me. I'm getting great advice. I'm being guided beautifully and by people who are just so genuine. Like that Linny Botel, I tell you.
About to say maybe you felt you had imposter syndrome because Lynn was cracking the whip, and everyone probably felt like they didn't know what they were doing.
Oh God, just do something. Yeah, no, just gorgeous. So yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting when you just kind of go yes in life. I'm going to say yes. Yeah.
Yes, life certainly does get very interesting when you do that.
Yeah.
But because you had to say no to the booking you had for recording in
Mm.
June of last year, and I'm wondering if you were somewhat philosophical about just thinking, all right, I'll let it go and there will be another chance, or was there actually a sense of, well, I don't know if I will get that chance again?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually thought with how I was feeling and the mountain I felt like I was having to climb and the uncertainty of what that mountain was actually going to look like because we still didn't know, you
Mhm.
know, for a little while of what actually, you know, what it was all going to look like. And
Yeah.
I just went, was this going to be something we do in a year's time? Or is this something we're going to do in 2 years' time? Or I don't know when we're going to do it now. Or bugger it, let's just do it. Then there was the other part of me was like, I get out of surgery on the They told me I'd be up and at 'em in 48 hours. Couldn't walk for 3 weeks. Um,
Right.
let's record next week. But then I was
Mm.
like, no, that's not going to happen.
Well, and also because, singing takes a lot of muscle work. So,
Yes, yeah. And you know what's really amazing is Sid was so patient and so beautiful. He is an amazing human being. The way he approaches music and the way he translates music and creates music is just incredible. Like the way he plays and the way he hears your vision and the way he interprets, I felt like I was just in such great hands. And he encouraged me to use my voice in a different way.
interesting.
Yeah, so some of the songs on there are almost like a little bit spoken word, not spoken word, but just very quiet, and it was really interesting because I got to feel like I was just telling a story.
Well, I had a specific question about your voice actually because
Yeah.
I said the album is very personal in that you're not only singing about your life, but we feel like you're right there with us, and that was to
Oh,
do with the way you were singing it actually, because there were certain moments I was like, it feels like you're just really right here telling me this story. So that's so interesting about Sid's input.
yeah. Yeah, it was really interesting, and especially coming from a theatre background, we're told to project, and we've got to reach the audience,
Mm.
20, 50 meters down. So you kind of have an idea of, you know, but when you go into the studio, it's like you, you can't have all that vibrato and all that the fullness of a line. So I learned a lot. It was a massive learning curve, and they were so patient with me. So patient.
Frankly, that is their job. How did you
Yeah.
come to work with Sid?
Um, the beautiful Joe Casely. So I met Sid through Joe, and I actually worked with Sid. I recorded my first single, Run Dry, with Nash Chambers,
Right.
and Sid. I did my vocals down at Sid's studio in Jarvis Bay, and because that was a remote recording with Nash in 2023. Yeah, so that's how I initially met Sid, and he's just beautiful. Like his whole philosophy around music is it's actually quite spiritual.
Mhm.
And so it just really, his values just really aligned,
Right.
yeah, with mine. So it just felt really great. And Ben Fink co-produced as well. Ben Fink is a beautiful friend and musical mentor. We've been working together, God, 7 years. And we still play together now. So it's so
Wow.
wonderful. Yeah.
So obviously the house that you had booked originally was in Jarvis Bay and you organized all the musicians. So when Sid said, okay, well, time to start again, or start anew, I
Yeah.
guess, how long did it take to organize everyone?
Well, we didn't end up doing it in Jarvis Bay. We actually, I wanted to do it in my hometown. I wanted to do it in the Southern Highlands. So we actually stayed on my friend's farm in Kangaloon. My beautiful Vanessa is like, she's like a mum to me. She's just the most beautiful human being, and I'm forever grateful that she allowed us to move into her house.
That's
So for 9 days, we stayed in her beautiful farmhouse and we recorded for 9 days. We just ate, lived and breathed music. It was like a bubble.
yeah.
And we actually recorded in her kitchen.
Right.
Yeah, so we cooked while we recorded. We made cups of tea. Yeah, it was very homey. And
That's sorry, go on.
yeah, and if it's like a big cathedral, almost church kitchen, open, beautiful, and it's timber and sandstone and wood. The acoustics were just unbelievable. So when we heard the first, when you record it and go straight into the machine, very technical. When we heard it back at the end of the day with no mixing, nothing on it, it just had this beautiful timbre to it.
Mm-hmm.
And we were just very excited. Yeah.
And it's so interesting how technology has enabled recording to happen in places like this. You know, Fanny Lumsden recorded an album in a stone hut.
I
Troy
know.
Bailey recorded his latest album in his mother's house. And so it does, it also raises the idea of, well, the acoustics of these older houses in particular may well be a benefit as opposed to being in a studio environment.
Oh, absolutely. I think we were really lucky because I think it wasn't echoey, which I think was to our advantage. But it was kind of bit in between. Yeah, I think it's incredible. It kind of that I can hear when I hear the songs, I just feel like I'm in that kitchen.
Right. Yeah.
It's just beautiful.
So, I mean, there's, yeah, all of these elements, Sid's advice about your singing, where you recorded the album, I think
Yep.
that contributes to that sense we have of being very close in with you, but also what you're singing about. And it is, as I said, a very personal album. It feels like you put your whole heart out there. And that's also quite a risk as an artist because it's like, well, this is really who I am. So I'm wondering, as you were recording, and perhaps even before that, choosing songs for the album, did you start to think, oh, I don't know. I don't know if I want all this out there.
Yeah, absolutely. That song "Praying Courage" was the first single I released in March. I actually wrote that in Nashville in a hotel room, or when I went over to Nashville to do some writing, and I got to play over there in a year and a half ago, and I was literally in my hotel room, just like freaking out, just like that imposter syndrome, going, "What am I thinking? I've come all the way." A mom with kids. Like I've left my family at home, and I've come to pursue a passion. And so that song was kind of written in the room by myself, freaking out. Then when I got back to Australia, I showed it to Lynn, and Lynn just, as she does, beautiful, just pulls out that magic wand and she just whips over it and just made it. We just made it into what it is now, which I just love playing that song. But that was a very emotional song to write. Um, about the fragility of our emotions and how it can overtake us, and how we do need that courage. Excuse me, to do things in life, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think especially when you have been unwell, actually, because the veil between worlds feels a bit thinner when you've been through that kind of fire that you've been through, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and so it's actually still really hard to talk about. And I was when I talk to about I have this beautiful chat with other female musicians, and they're the most supportive group of women, and I'm so blessed. And we were discussing, talking about, you know, my story about having cancer and about the ordeal of it and all of that, and how gut wrenching it is and scary it is. You feel very scared, and how I was like, oh, I don't really feel like I want to talk about it because I don't want it to define me as a musician.
Mm.
Because that's really important, that I can stand on my own 2 feet, and I'm really, at the end of the day, just a human being with creative
Mm-hmm.
energy, just
Yeah.
trying to do my thing.
Yeah.
So it's been really glad we're talking about it, but it's really hard to talk about.
I understand. So I
Yeah,
won't, so the only comment I'll make is because I was very, very ill a few years ago. And then so my
yeah.
reference to the fire and being in it comes from that.
Oh,
And also, so it's not so much, and I don't think either that you should be defined by the sort of illness or treatment you go through or anything
mm,
like that. It's more just that understanding, particularly when you have a creative life as you do, that there is this process that happens. And
yeah,
you can either let your creative fire go out, or you can use it to stoke that fire and
yeah,
change it and find something new. And it sounds to me like you have.
yes, yeah. Actually, this whole album is as it should be because of the experience I've had.
Yeah.
Some of the songs um, are brand new. Some of the songs we wrote on the day. So the song "Sister," I had it half written,
Okay.
and that was about, Sid and I finished that in the morning, and
Yeah.
we just put it down. So that song is pretty raw too.
Yeah,
Um,
that is one of the most affecting songs on the album. They all are very
yeah,
touching, I think. But I remember the first time listening to that, I was like, oh, where's
yeah,
that going?
yes, yeah, yeah, and that was a can of worms of opening that one. But this is also the great thing about having cancer and having and working through it is it's an opportunity to talk about it. And a lot of my friends are going to get checked now.
Right.
So it's actually creating a bit of an awareness. They go like, oh, I was going to wait till I was 50 to get checked. It's like, no, go and get checked.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I feel like there is a little bit of a responsibility to talk about it as well.
Well, yes, but only as much as you want to have, I think. That's
Yeah,
also
yeah.
don't put that burden on yourself, if you know what
No, no.
I mean. You can
Yeah,
do as much work as is right for you.
that's right. Yeah, yeah.
But to completely change the subject, I am
Mm.
going to ask you about the fact that I believe you are a real life cowgirl.
No,
Because you have at least one horse and you ride
yeah,
that horse regularly.
I do. Yes. So I grew up in the Blue Mountains in Lura, and I actually had that's how I saw the Blue Mountains was on my horse.
Wow. Because
Yeah,
that's
like
some interesting terrain to be on horseback for.
absolutely. So we lived in Lura. My horse lived in my backyard, and I just escaped every afternoon. After I got off the bus, I'd get on my horse Kia, little thoroughbred I used to own, and get to the Great Western Highway, and I'd either go left to Wentworth Falls or right to Lura, then up over to go over train tracks, up over the bridge, and go right to the back of North Katoomba where they had all the bushfire trails.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I used to just follow all of those and ride out there for hours. No phone, no,
No.
didn't even tell mum which if I was going left or right when I got to the highway. Like,
So I'm still stuck on you turning up at the Great Western Highway and riding alongside it.
yes,
Oh
yes,
my God.
I know. I don't know. Have you been up to the mountains?
Oh, yeah, several, yes, because I grew up in
Yeah,
Sydney, so I know the mountains. I know, so I
where?
know what you're talking about, turning right to Lura left. Sorry,
Yeah,
right to Lura left to Ratton
yeah.
Falls. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I used to ride down Lura Mall.
And for those who have not been to Lura in particular, well, it's the side of Lura, it sounds like you lived on, is the high side compared to the valley side, where if you're in Lura, there's a place called the Everglades where you can go into the gardens, and this is a garden that is so steep that actually it has tiers. And so I'm just thinking of
Yeah,
you on a horse riding that sort of terrain, going, it's like Man from Snowy River stuff.
yeah, kinda. Yeah. But I just loved it. So that was my time out. So, but I didn't have a Western saddle. I ride in dressage saddle.
Right.
But yeah, I can ride though. I enjoy it. I enjoy it. Yeah, actually, one of my jobs is I'm a coach. I teach people to ride horses.
Right. Okay.
So yeah.
And the Highlands has a rich horse history. In fact, when I was a school child, every winter holidays, my mother would take me and my brother to horse riding lessons in Bowral. So I
Oh,
do.
is that right?
It's because she learned to ride in Bowral
Yeah.
as a child. Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's a great area
right.
for it.
Yeah. No, it's a beautiful thing to be able to get on a horse. And that horse of mine has just been, he pops up into my Instagram feeds every now and then. We talk about my music together.
Yeah, it's for people who don't ride or have never ridden, the relationship with the horse can seem a bit strange to understand. But I remember talking to someone who had ridden a lot, and she said, "Well, you're sitting on the horse's back." And so
Yeah.
that's why it's such a close relationship when you're riding with the same horse regularly because that's and I kept thinking, well, yeah, if someone was sitting on my back, I'd want to know them pretty well.
Yeah, that's right. It's actually both of your nervous systems are joined together. Like they come together because you're sitting directly over spine.
Right.
And yeah, it is really quite amazing.
Yeah.
When in the terms of the connection. Yeah,
Mm.
I sing to my horse. I make up songs on my horse all the time. Yeah,
So when some people might go for a walk to solve a creative problem, do you get on the horse?
I do. Yeah, or I just get out and do some liberty work, like groundwork. And I just that's yeah, it's really special.
Yeah, it's making me want to go for a ride actually over there.
Yeah, we should go for a ride.
Oh, I think you would be far too good to ride it with me. I'd be
Oh
there going,
no.
I haven't trotted for a long time. No. Now you are, as I mentioned at the top, in Three Birds and the Truth with Joe Casely and Beth Lucas. So I don't know where Beth lives, so I'm not sure if the three of you actually get to play together that often or even just to jam.
Yeah, well, Beth's in Brizzy, so we don't get to see Beth. She might come here, or we might go there once or twice a year to do gigs. But we that is just like one of my favorite. That is like fills my heart. Those girls, they're just glorious.
Great band name too.
Three Birds and the Truth. Yeah, we came up with that. I booked us a gig in Katoomba at the Avalon restaurant a couple of years ago, and we're in the car driving up to the mountains on the highway, and we're like, we should. This is before we were. This is only we only started playing, singing with each other, and we should call ourselves something. And I was like, what about Three Birds? And Joe was like, what about Three Birds and the Truth? And it just kind of was like, yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we like that.
So do you have any Zoom catch-ups or anything like that where you write songs together, or it's just when you could be in the same physical place
It,
as
yeah, because we're all like, yeah, when we're all together, we actually haven't done any writing together yet. So we've just been singing on each other's songs, but we actually recorded our first Three Birds song.
Ah,
And we're going to, yeah, we haven't announced it yet, but we're actually going to release a song this year together.
oh, fantastic. Well, I won't press
Yeah.
you for details because it's not
No,
announced.
don't press. I can't say anything.
That's right.
But it is so beautiful. That just grows organically for us. It's all about us. It's our friendship being together, and Tamworth, where we get to celebrate being together and play together. It's just, yeah, that's so much fun.
Fantastic. So, in terms of your own album and any playing plans, I'm not sure how many live music venues there are in the Southern Highlands, or maybe you don't play them anyway, but do you have some gig plans?
Yeah, I'm actually in the process of organising a Beautiful Scars tour.
Mhm. Okay.
So, which is really exciting. So, my first kind of, yeah, me having a crack at doing it. I've booked a couple of album launches. I'm doing one in Robbo. I'm going to do one in Sydney, and we're going to do one in Tamworth next year. So I'm just going to like go
Now,
for it.
and also, I should say, Robbo for the uninitiated is Robertson in
Oh,
Southern
Robertson.
Highlands. Yeah.
Yeah, the home of the big potato for those who don't know. And it's a big brown mound in town, but they've just painted it pink.
Oh,
I know,
it's
because
a Desiree potato instead. Nice.
well, they've painted it pink and put a big pig on it because Babe was filmed. We're
Okay.
famous in Robbo, so if you we're famous, Babe was filmed here in the hills in Robertson like 30, 40 years ago.
Gosh, is it that old? Okay.
They've turned it into a pig. So I know, a long time ago, huh?
Well, and then look, and Robertson is also home to Ben Quilty's art gallery and the
That
Robertson Public House, which is probably where you're going to play.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, yeah. No,
So,
so we've got lots of plans for it. We've you know, in the process of getting all some really nice merch together, which is really great. We've got vinyl coming and CDs and t-shirts and hats. So it's a really, really exciting time. And we shot some beautiful film clips with Tracy and Josh. They're just amazing. Just
so
amazing.
you are releasing CD and vinyl first and on Bandcamp. So I've come across this a little more lately, shall we say.
Yeah.
Artists are releasing physical artifacts first and then holding off on streaming. Is that just because you want to have that, that tangible exchange, I guess, with your audience?
Yeah, I think, and it's the opportunity to kind of have that conversation about your product, about your music, and about getting it out there. And I
Mhm.
think it's okay to hold it off digitally because once it goes out digitally, it kind of feels like okay, it's out there in the world,
Mhm.
and it's God. You know, you just I struggle a little bit with the streaming services, in all
Mhm.
honesty. But I just feel like this is a really nice way for me to introduce my debut album.
Yeah. I agree. And also, it's yes, once you put it on streaming, it's you're there with everyone else. But when you form that connection with your audience and in your music in the music
Yeah.
that's on this album, you certainly are doing that anyway. I think it's nice to feel like you're creating your own area, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so. And just kind of protecting it just for that little bit longer, you know. And I'm so lucky. Beautiful Kaz Waters um, is my publicist, and she's just wonderful. She's such an advocate for supporting independent artists and particularly women in the music industry. I just feel like I'm surrounded by just really great people who are just so authentic and just are so full of experience and rich with all this knowledge.
Mhm.
And it's just been amazing. Like, I just can't, I wish for anything more. So, whatever happens, whether you like the album or you don't like the album, I don't mind. I honestly don't mind. I feel so proud of it. And it's something that I can leave behind for my family. It's like my legacy that something I can contribute, and I can go, oh, remember that lady? She was that crazy lady that made a couple of records. What was her name?
Well, this album has come about partly because you said yes to things rather than not, and therefore people can say yes to Beautiful Scars, and I think they will be very glad that they did so. I am going to leave it there. Amber Kenny, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.